Today is the day, folks. It is Game 1 of the second round series between the Vancouver Canucks and the Edmonton Oilers. Is it not kind of weird that we have some series in the second round that are already 2 games played, and the Canucks and Oilers have not started yet? It's weird. But in today's video, which is going to be taking up a morning spot, which, I kind of have to, because Game 1 is later this evening. We gotta do what we can to push everything out before that. Today we are going over some of the comments made by various parties around the hockey world and centering around the Canucks and the Oilers series in regards to how this series might go. We've got 4 different individuals, 4 different quotes, and I wanted to go out there and just kind of dive into this. 4 into 10 is about 2.5 per, so it kind of works out nicely there. Let's start out with what Rick Tocchet said as to what the Vancouver Canucks are going to have to do in order to win this matchup. Take a look at this tweet made by Canucks Army. What do the Vancouver Canucks have to do in order to beat the Oilers? It's all about puck possession, according to Rick Tocchet. Let's face it, the best defense is having the puck, so we like to hold on to pucks. That's why you have to move your feet, that's why you have to win battles, you have to keep the puck. You can't throw pucks away. You can't stand still. The Oilers thrive on that type of stuff. You have to make them stop and play defense. Now, just from my personal interpretation of this quote, it doesn't seem like Rick Tocchet is taking any shots at LA. I don't really think that's what he's doing here. But when it comes to the way the Vancouver Canucks played that first round against Nashville, it was a defensive battle. And it was to the point that you could very well say the Canucks ended up winning multiple games where they probably shouldn't. They squeaked out victories, they came back just in the nick of time, they had these crazy bursts of energy where they were able to outscore Nashville and outwork Nashville in the most opportune times. And while it made for some very dramatic moments, and while it provided some great entertainment, I'm not going to say that's a projectable strategy against a team like Edmonton. But Tocchet is fairly stable here in his assessment, saying, it's the defense, it is the way the Canucks control the puck and get it out of their own zone. This is what worked against the Oilers in the regular season. But unfortunately, the regular season and the playoffs are an entirely different animal. So while Rick Tocchet does have the right idea, while he is not incorrect at all, you cannot throw pucks away, you cannot stand still, you have to dump and chase, you have to force yourself into the fight, you have to move your feet. This is a whole different animal. And at the end of the day, it is very true that the Oilers and the players on it have had more playoff appearances and deep runs than the Vancouver Canucks have the past little while. So experience, defensive strategy, physicality, we'll see how these things come into play as the Canucks and Oilers face off in Game 1. Speaking about that regular season playoff matchup, let's go out there and look at what Draisaitl had to say about this upcoming matchup. This was a video where he was kind of annoyed in the way that the reporters are asking him about the regular season and how the Canucks were able to beat out the Oilers 4 times in 4 games. We don't care what happened in the regular season, and I bet they don't either, as much as you think. We're a different team now, Draisaitl said about the Canucks' 4-0 sweep of Edmonton in the regular season where they outscored the Oilers 21-7. And that pretty much is it as well. I like how Draisaitl has always been a really good quote, and he gave a lot of props over to Vancouver in these comments here, because at the end of the day, I think that's kind of the mindset that the Oilers in particular have to have in this kind of scenario, that, hey, all that stuff that happened in the regular season doesn't matter now. And the Canucks would be fools to think that it does, because even Connor McDavid said in one of the other interviews that he'd had, I think very early on after Vancouver-Nashville concluded, that the Canucks, when they destroyed the Oilers earlier on, the Oilers were still under Jay Woodcroft. Those games, 3 of them, happened in the first few weeks of the season where the Oilers were still really bad, and then the last one, Connor McDavid didn't even play. So, certainly not the most ideal set of circumstances for the Canucks to play off against Edmonton, and that's certainly not indicative of the quality of play we're going to see at Edmonton this time around. And the LA Kings They were kind of the ones who saw that firsthand because they got destroyed. And we had made our videos talking about how it was easy for Edmonton in a way to just feast on LA with power play goals and making the Kings pay for almost every gap of space that they had. I mean, look, as much as I say I don't want to play against the Kings, I like them as a team. You know, I like their players, I like a lot of their prospects, and whenever we make LA Kings related videos, it's always met with good reception, but when the Oilers play them, yeah, no, they stomped. And that momentum is going to be what carries Edmonton into this series with confidence. Now, speaking about the series itself, let's go over one of the matchups that is going to happen here. Jannik Hansen had himself a long comment on the People Show yesterday on Sportsnet 650. Vancouver's defense is better than Edmonton's, Hansen said. Now, in this same 1 minute and 5 second audio hit, Hansen does go out there and gives the edge to Silovs as well over Edmonton goaltender Stuart Skinner. So if you want to talk about the defense, which is what Tocchet went out there and focused on, you want to talk about the in-zone strategies, how one team's got to go out there and play against the other. I think Elliotte Friedman also said this on 32 Thoughts as well, that the Vancouver Canucks playing such a defensive battle against Nashville, such a chess match, is going to help them against Edmonton. Because this team is fresh off of shutting down what was the best offense in the NHL heading into the playoffs. Sure, Nashville, I mean, you can say their record, whatever, over the season was not the best, which is why they were just a wildcard team, but heading into the playoffs, they were scary. They were on fire. They had all the wins, they had all the offense, their power play was the best in the NHL, and then they got shut down. So, Edmonton, sure, their firepower is better than Nashville's, but the Oilers are coming into that same story here. Best offense in the NHL, best power play. Vancouver, with their defense and goaltending, which Jannik Hansen, of all people, is giving the edge to Vancouver in that department, that is what's going to make this matchup all the more interesting. Now, let's go over onto our final comment of the day in regards to this series. It comes to us from Rink-Wide Vancouver. Elias isn't in the fight. Trevor Linden joined Jeff Pettersson and Irfan Gaffar on Rink-Wide. He says Elias Pettersson needs to be one of Vancouver's best players to beat the Oilers, and Petey needs to compete hard to make that happen. Now, I'm going over onto this article on CanucksDaily.com because it gives you the scoop in a written format. It's easy to screenshot, put it on the screen. This is what Linden says about Elias Pettersson. For them to have any sort of chance, Petey has got to be their best player or one of them. You're going to go through times where you're just not feeling it, not seeing it, but Elias just isn't in the fight. Let's be honest here, playoff hockey is a war. You see how some of these players approach it as an all-out battle. It's not just about making plays, but competing. Linden responded, "For me, when I watch Elias, he's got to get in the fight. They will not win this series if they don't have him as one of their best players." And that is one assessment that I think reigns true here. Of course, Trevor Linden being the guy to go out there and say it. Oh yeah, it's Trevor Linden. But at the same time, Petey being super passive and not having much of an impact in the Nashville series was okay. They still won. They still got it done. He was really impactful on the final goal scored by Pius Suter, but that was about it. Other than that, he cannot have that same low-level impact until the very end against the Oilers. In the earlier games this season, Elias Pettersson torched the Oilers. Take a look at this. The very first damn game of the year, Elias Pettersson had 4 points, a goal, and 4 assists against Edmonton. The next game, he had 2 points. The game in November, he had 1 point. And then in April, he had none. This was the Petey that we had seen. Now, of course, I get it, same situation applies here, regular season versus playoffs, it's not the same, but if Pettersson can get some sort of confidence out of the turn of the series, this is a reset, this is an opportunity for him to bounce back, then we will see if that comes true. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section about these comments made by Tocchet, Linden, Hansen, as well as Leon Draisaitl heading into the Canucks and Oilers series. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll come back to you with the post-game once the game is said and done. And Bye.